And welcome everybody to Sports on Tap. This is our summer spotlight. My name is Ed Dick. Alongside our co-hosts, our technical director is Rob Troutman. We have our EVP of social media content and graphic design intern himself, Josh Jeffy. Dr. Hoops himself, Noah Jacobson, and my cohort, my colleague, my compadre, Sean Duffy, is out on assignment tonight. You're watching us live on our YouTube channel, Sports on Tap. You can check us out at SOT Podcast. Where this and all past broadcasts are and will be archived. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications of all of our future broadcasts. Follow us on Twitter at SOT Podcasts, also on Facebook at Sports on Tap. And most importantly, check us out on our website at sportsontappodcast.com for information about the show. And you can reach out directly to us at sportsontappodcast@gmail.com for comments, questions, feedback, and the like. We are sponsored by Ray Felton State Farm Insurance, located at 5603 Darrow Road, Suite 500 in beautiful Hudson, Ohio. Ray provides auto, home, life, and business insurance and risk management. Call Ray at 234-284-5996 for more information. And also check out his website, rayfelton.com, to create a personalized quote. Bandwagon Fantasy Sports is a new twist of fantasy sports where users own sports teams rather than players and compete against others to accumulate points based on real-world results of the teams they own. App users can create public and private leagues to compete against their friends or other members of the Bandwagon community. Download the Bandwagon Fantasy Sports app and check out bandwagonfantasysports.com for more information. Bandwagon Fantasy Sports, not daily, not traditional, just teams, just win. RRT Productions. RRT Productions delivers affordable, high-quality video services to all customers and clients. RRT Productions also offers freelance services for large and small-scale events. Their experience is second to none, and satisfaction is guaranteed. Just ask Rob. Contact them today. You'll be glad you did. Check them out at rrt-productions.com for more information. Last and certainly not least, GV Art and Design, located in Avon, Lakewood, Willoughby, and Kent. Check out gvartwork.com to find your favorite professional and college team and player-themed shirts and apparel. Use the promo code ONTAP10 at checkout to get 10% off at checkout. That seems a little redundant. I should probably rewrite that. Moving on. So most importantly here, this is our second part of our summer spotlight. You saw us last Monday talk to Cloverleaf Colts bowler Delana Harvey, who was the two-time county MVP and two-time MAC champion bowler. So we really enjoyed that. But this week we're joined by not one but two sets of state champions in the spring sports. First, we are currently joined by the Tallmadge girls Division II state champion softball team. This was their 8th championship in program history. That is tied for second most in OHSAA history. That was their first state title since 1998. We are joined by head coach Brittany Lightel, junior pitcher Riley Jackson, and junior third baseman Sydney Becks. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Coach Riley and Cindy, you guys, you beat Greenville in the state semifinal. A heck of a comeback there, and then you really took care of business against Canfield in the state championship. So, between the three of you, collectively, talk about the postseason. You had a lot of adversity in the Greenville game where we had to make a big comeback. So, talk about the comeback and talk about the playoffs and your experience for the year.
I feel like going into the playoffs, and they had a great attitude. They're really close knit on and off the field. So I think just going into the playoffs, knowing that we, have that bond, they were kind of like ready and excited to go. And then when we just kept winning, we won sectionals, we won districts, and just kept rolling with it. I just think like they were super, super pumped about it. And then the Greenville game, I don't know if we've ever come back from a deficit that whole year like that. But I think they really fed off the crowd energy and they fed off each other's energy. Our dugout was fantastic. And they just never gave up. So I tried to stay positive, and I know they did. And like I said, they fed off that crowd energy, and they never stopped fighting, and it paid off. So.
And this is amateur hour by me. Sydney and Riley, talk about your guys' experience as the players as you're playing through it all.
We can go first. Are we talking about the Greensboro game?
Oh, that game, or just really the postseason experience and the run you guys had?
I think this year, like especially, last year. I think as a team we were all really close, and basically the varsity team was the same as it was last year. So I think that we played so much better this year too, as like a team, just because like we all get along with each other like off the field, and I think that like helps a lot. And I like winning, like I do not like losing, but that's not that's this year. Just I think we had a lot of winning, and I told Brittany in the middle of the season that I wanted to like pitch more games, not just the harder games, because that's what I was doing, was pitching more of like the harder teams and stuff. And after I told her that, she let me pitch in like almost all the games, and that was I had a goal, and it was for my career in or I forget if it was the strikeouts in the career or season that was it the 100 strikeouts, was that the career or was it a season?
That was your season record so far. But you reached 175. So
I what?
175 strikeouts on the season.
But you can go.
That's a lot of strikeouts.
Not bad.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Well, let's talk about that, Riley. I mean, not only according to what Coach provided us, I mean, 17-5, over 130 innings pitched, 175 strikeouts. That's nuts. 35 walks. He had a 1.68 ERA. And probably most importantly, maybe not most importantly, besides the state championship, but something that was really cool. You pitched a perfect game this year, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, I
feel like it's hard to remember.
I know. I don't even know. I just remember that game. That game helped me with winning the states. It just made me feel I like had a lot more confidence after that. I think that's one of the reasons why I did so good this season.
And that's one question I was going to ask was, during the season, where was it that your confidence just started taking off? What game where did it click? Where, I mean, 132 innings. I know in baseball it's a little bit different because you can't pitch all those innings, but in girls softball, I mean, it seems like you can keep pitching. Did you ever have any arm fatigue or anything pitching all those innings? I mean, 175 strikeouts. I mean, that's pretty crazy to pitch all those innings. I don't know how. I know my daughter plays girls fast pitch, but she's only 9, so I'm not sure. And I'm learning as we go here how it all works. But I'm like, how do these girls pitch all these innings? Does your arm ever get that fatigue at all?
Yeah. Well, I have like tendonitis in my arm, and I've had it like ever since I've been pitching, and it's something that I've just like learned how to pitch through. So I think last year definitely like it hurt, like my arms, it was really bad last year to some points where I couldn't play, and it still is this year, but I've just learned to like get through it, and you just pitch through it. It's something that I've gotten used to. So. Gotcha.
Hey, Sydney, you missed a little bit of time with some injuries, but you came back with quite a vengeance. A really, really good season, and one of the unique things, you led the team in batting from the bottom of the lineup. So talk about how that came to be, and where sticking at the bottom lineup.
Ed, let's not sugarcoat this. She batted almost 600 from the 9th spot, so that's pretty awesome. Coach, I can't imagine who's batting leadoff if your 9th hitter's batting 600. So
no, she's leading our team for sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I think she's been asked this question, I think, every single interview. So I'll let her tell her side first.
I honestly did not think my batting average was that high, especially with missing games and then being at the bottom. I kind of was just I had no clue. And then I forget who told me. I think it was you. And you were I think so. You were or it might have been my dad, I don't know. And someone said, like, you're leading the team with your batting average. I was like, there's no way. Like, I don't believe you. And then they showed it to me. I was like, oh, okay. And that, like, definitely, like, boosted my confidence. And I was like, I don't know.
So Sydney, kind of add to that, like, coming into the season, you're in that ninth spot. I believe some of the stats that your coach gave us, 37 hits with 33 singles. So when you were going up to bat, what was your mindset? Just making contact, just getting good bat on the ball, and then just getting that hit for your team?
Towards the beginning of the season, I was definitely more like confident in my bunting and slapping, and I kind of refused to swing, like just a normal swing most of the time. And then once we started getting to like faster pitchers and better teams, I was like, bunting and slapping is not going to work. Like their shortstop and third baseman are going to be quick. So I have to try something new. So I started swinging, like, and it was working, always going to the left side.
Well, you ended up swinging in the state championship game, and you had an inside the park home run. So how was that feeling to continue to run around the base? And inside the park home run it's probably not unheard of, but I mean it's tough to do, especially in a state championship game when the competition's at the highest level.
Yeah, as soon as I hit it, I was like, okay, that felt like a good hit. And then I was running to first, and our first base coach was telling me to go to second. I was like, okay, I was sure I was going to stop at second. But then as I was like going to second, I could see the left fielder was like laying on the ground, and like everyone was chasing the ball all the way to the corner. So then I started rounding second, going to third. And then Coach Brittany was there like screaming at me, just telling me to go like all the way. And I was like, okay, like I thought I was going to get thrown out, but then I didn't have to slide. I was like, okay.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
Coach, thank you again for taking the time and joining us tonight. What really sticks out to me is when Sydney hit that inside the park home run, and I could just feel like the energy from the crowd and that. Just talk about what support from the community and your fans and even some of the Little League players when I read on the Academic Journal. Just talk about the support from your fans all year. I mean, I've heard the energy on the state championship crowd, and it was unbelievable.
Yeah, and I think that's what we get for getting to play the state championship so close to home. We've always, I mean, our parents are phenomenal, and they show up to every single game, no matter where we're playing. So that's not a question. But to be able to have like that fan base, and Tallmadge Little League is so, pronounced in like our community. And they've all played through Tallmadge Little League. So it's just a big deal. We're just a baseball and softball town. So we had, people coming out of the woodwork coming to watch us play at Firestone Stadium. It's been a while since we've been there. So, and they talked about, the last state championship was 1998. We've had state championships in 1981, and like some of those players still showed up to watch that game. So it just says a lot about like our community and how it comes full circle, and they continue to support. There's people that, again, like that we don't even know, and our girls aren't even related to, that are sharing articles on Facebook, that are sharing things on Twitter, that are mailing me Beacon Journal like clippings. Like I'm like, I don't know these people. They're like acquaintances, but they're just like people that live in Tallmadge that are just like so happy and so excited. And a lot of like the people that are like involved in Little League have had a lot to say about us, like to the coaches and to the girls. Like they just look up to them, and like I said, they played through Little League, and that now they just won a state championship. So I think a lot of those girls were super excited to kind of be in that spot too, and kind of like looking at them like, oh, I could do this one day too. So yeah, we are very fortunate to have such a strong community behind us. So
Brittany, I was curious that, at what point during the season did you realize that this team, was special? I'm sure every year coming in, a team is special for some reason, but did you have a feeling that this specific team could eventually do what it eventually did?
Yeah, well, we talked about it at the end of last season that this team could win a state championship this season. We only lost one senior last year, and she was great. She didn't have a lot of playing time for us, so like this core group that you saw on the field has been on the field, so together. So we knew we were going to have the same team coming back, and they are all very strong athletes. Like I can only play 9, 10, but I always say that I'm like solid 1 through 12. And I'm like very lucky that we have such a good junior and senior class and even sophomore class. So yeah, we kind of talked about at the end of last season that they could really go far. And then when we started to have a couple injuries, I think Sid went first, and then Layla Stazak went, and then we kind of had to get creative with what we were going to do. And then Zoe Rensel went, and I think a lot of us were like, oh, we don't really know now, like what's going to come of it. But I will say like that's a testament to the girls. Like I feel like mentally they were like unsure, and I will admit even myself was unsure after we lost Zoe. But they really like rallied around each other and made things happen. And it's a big puzzle piece. I was able to bring Sid back from the outfield. She's done a phenomenal job in center field, but third base I think is where she's most comfortable. So I was lucky that she got healthy almost just in time when we lost Zoe. And there's a lot of those plays that a lot of kids don't make at third base. And so she was definitely a game changer for us at third base too. So.
I'll go with Tallmadge girls softball head coach Brittany Lightel and junior pitcher Riley Jackson and junior third baseman Sydney Becks. Coach, let's talk about, we're talking with Sydney and Riley obviously right now, and you mentioned a few other players, but who are some of the other players, some of the outgoing seniors that really left their mark on the program, and who you're going to be relying on next year for the repeat?
Well, so like I said, we had Zoe's been out probably mid-season, but she's been huge for us as far as the program goes. I mean, she still holds our home runs in a season. She broke that record last year with 10. So she's just been a great leader, even in the dugout to finish the season. I can't say enough good things about her. Marley Queen, our left fielder, she is also graduating. She's another one that's a fantastic leader. She's more quiet than the other ones. But she broke the season doubles record this year. So she's another one that puts the bat on the ball and makes things happen. Jocelyn Caffell, she was our first baseman. She played a little bit of right field. Like I said, when we had some of those injuries and we were kind of like piecing things together. And I can't say enough about like how flexible that kid is. Like she just put me anywhere. She just wants to play. And she started off our season really, really strong, and she could have potentially, her bat kind of slowed up a little bit, but her batting average was probably about where Sydney's was when we were at the beginning of the season. And then she kind of slowed up a little bit, but she's continued. I mean, she's still batting over 400. So I can't say anything bad about her, but she's a great kid as well. And then Emma Garbinski, our second baseman, she batted a little bit lower in the order, but she's a contact hitter. And when she's a tiny little thing, but when she gets the bat on the ball, like it goes. And most of the time she finds the center of the ball somewhere. And when we get her on base, she's quick. So those are the 4 seniors that will be leaving us. But I do have 7 juniors returning. So it's going to be huge. I mean, most of them are starters, I guess, from this team. But so like, I guess, Sydney and Riley are going to be huge. Ashlyn Severns is coming back at shortstop. Lexi Gray behind the plate. So we just have, again, 1 through 9, like we're going to be able to make it happen. So I think as long as they kind of stay positive, and hopefully we can just continue to ride this all the way through next year, and they remember what the feeling feels like.
I'm sure they'll know how it feels after this, because what a ride it's been all year. I mean, getting to the state championship in Canfield at one point, I know they've had some state championships too, so that's a really good team you beat, and you kind of dominated in that championship game. Coach, talk a little bit about the atmosphere playing in Akron. Is it to me, it seems like the perfect stadium for the state championship. And I know, boys baseball was in Akron as well. And I think the stadiums really fit where it should be at, and it seemed like there were great crowds, great atmosphere, and I think it's a nice venue for the championship games.
Yeah, I mean, and they just redid it. It's beautiful. So we actually were fortunate enough to play 2 games in there. We actually drew Firestone as our district bracket. And so before that took place, I went ahead and tried to schedule some games on that turf just so they could kind of get used to it before the tournament. They ended up pulling it as a district site, so we kind of got, you know, shuffled around a little bit, so we didn't get to see it till the state tournament. But we were definitely lucky enough to have like played on that turf twice. The ironic thing is, one of those games we did play Canfield, so they also got to see that turf before. We didn't pitch Riley that game, and they didn't pitch Toth, so you know, but we both got to feel that surface just in case we were to be back. Like they were like, oh, in case we're going to be back here for the state tournament. So, you know, turns out that we came back and got to see them in the state championship. But I mean, I told them, like, I remember playing there. I played the state state Final Four. I didn't make it to the championship, so I have hard feelings about it. But in 2009, and it's just like a different feeling. I kept telling them, don't look up in the stands, because I feel like there's just people that come out that you just like don't expect them to be there, and it's a full stadium since we're so close to home. But I do think this group kind of feeds off that energy, and you know, they were up dancing around, waving, and they didn't think twice about it. So, but yeah, it's like Firestone Stadium itself is like legendary, and it's like some teams don't ever get to play there. So for us to be able to have played there prior to the tournament and then be able to take home a state championship playing so close to home was super special. So
you were actually more nervous than them probably in the championship game. They were
100%.
They were waving, having a blast. You're like, hey, get back here, you know, focus here, and you're nervous. And they're just living it up.
I try not to tell them. I mean, I try not to show that I'm nervous. The bus ride, I like am super nervous. So once I get there, I just try to act as silly as they do and just kind of keep them loose. Like that's like my go-to, because I know internally that feel like I'm going to throw up, and you don't have the control that you did as a player. And so it's hard for me to relinquish. I'm like, well, I guess this is it. Let's see how they do. So yeah, my best advice to them is just have fun. I kept telling Sid every at bat, it's just another softball game. You've played a million. Like, let's just have fun. And they did. They had fun with it. Our dugout was phenomenal, and the girls stayed loose the whole game. So that's what I just trying to keep them stay loose. And I think it paid off.
I think so.
Yeah, Riley, as you know, again, tremendous year pitching for for you. What's your best pitch or what's your strikeout pitch that you went to a lot this year?
My best pitch is probably a curve. I throw a lot of curves, but like when we're like a strikeout, when I have like 2 strikes, I think my best one is a drop ball. But they don't call that one as much, but it's something that I think my rise and my drop ball are what I usually throw when I have 2 strikes to strike someone out. But my curve I use the most. I probably use a curve ball more than a fastball. So
use the curve to set up the rise and the drop.
Yeah, it's like I use a lot of fastballs and curves, but curve is my main.
Rob, you're an all-decade player for Brunswick. What are your chances of hitting a softball for Riley?
Well, probably 0. I tried in high school. We tried to hit the girls' softball. It is so different. I think I whiffed probably 10 out of 10 times. I think it was really bad. It's a tough sport. I give you girls credit. I mean, I watched the College World Series. It's intense. It's so fast, and it's just. You have to time it right, or you have almost no shot. I mean, just like in baseball, but I feel like, I don't know, baseball was a little bit easier, at least for me to hit. I know now you'd probably strike me out probably at least 9 out of 10 times. I might get lucky on one.
You might get a foul ball.
Yeah, exactly. On that one, I might foul it off.
Well, I do have I'm curious, Riley and Sydney. I have 3 daughters. I have 2 10-year-olds and a 14-year-old that also play softball. And, you know, what advice would you give them or any other young aspiring softball player that, that to have the success, what it takes to have the success that you and your team did? If you have any advice, what would you do? Because they're watching right now. I'm making them watch. So.
Yeah, I think just like practicing, like just don't stop practicing. I just think you need to practice.
That's awesome, because I keep telling them, hey, we got to go practice, and they're like, I want to watch TV.
All right, Dad.
Yeah.
Dad, just be quiet. I don't want to.
I think like even just like 10 minutes playing catch for like 10 minutes a day.
Mm-hmm. There's like days where I don't think I can practice, but you just have to push through it, and it pays off.
So I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just enjoy the game, like have fun. It makes you want to keep playing.
So do you guys play any other sports other than softball?
I play basketball and run cross country.
I don't play anything else.
So I'm sorry, because I coach them and help coach them. So I'm just trying to get as many pointers as possible. Like, do you guys find that, for you, Sydney, do you find that break playing different sports is what you need? And even for you, Riley, is it softball all year round? Like, is that what gets you motivated?
I think like not playing softball like all year round helps me like kind of just like take a break and like
probably look forward to it more almost.
Yeah, like because I feel like doing it all year round, I wouldn't get like tired of it.
You
but
wouldn't
it's just
be as excited probably.
Yeah. But then once softball season comes, then I'm like excited to change it up. You disagree?
Yeah. I think I do softball like all year round, and like when I don't have or when we don't have games, like I'm practicing during the summer. We have games too. Like the only time we don't have games is in the fall, and I practice in the fall probably like 3 times a week.
They play summer ball together too. So we have how many of you guys play together? All of you?
Yeah, all of us.
Like all of the juniors plus Lily. Yeah. So 8 of them on one summer ball team, which is,
oh my gosh, that's crazy.
I'm also very fortunate that they can continue playing together. We have, I think Sydney's dad is the head coach. So it's legal since I'm not involved. So it's nice that like I can go watch them in the summer and they're still all playing together.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's a good. So Sydney, how is it playing for your dad?
It's like nice because I can like tell him like, hey, this isn't working. Maybe like I'm like comfortable with.
I feel like you're used to it because he's always been your coach too.
Yeah, and like I can ask him like whatever, but like sometimes it's a little frustrating. Just because I don't know, just because he's my dad.
I would say he's probably a little bit harder on you than other players. I'm going to guess because you're his daughter, so he probably maybe expects a little bit more.
Yeah, sometimes.
Well, I totally understand where you're coming from, because I'll just say from your father's point of view, there's a certain level of frustration probably there too. But hey, I mean, you girls may not realize it, but you are an inspiration to a lot of young girls, and I really was looking forward to talking to you because I'm not knee deep in the game, but just having daughters playing in it. This is the first time this year ever I watched the College World Series softball, and it was very, you just get so into it. So
best time of the year. It's like Christmas.
Yeah, right. And I just really, it's just really nice to talk to you guys. And once again, congratulations from my end.
Thank you.
Yeah. Point I want to talk out to Josh is that Sydney and Riley, I also got a cousin that also plays softball and that. So I hope they're watching right now. So any advice would you like give her and that?
I think what I just said before, you just have to practice to get to, if you're like taking it seriously, you need to practice. But I think also have fun too.
Yeah.
Because like, you can't take it, if you take it too seriously, then I think for a little bit I was taking it too seriously, and I was like, I didn't want to do it anymore. Like, not do it, but I was just like,
became a chore.
Yeah.
Like,
so I think you do have to have fun too, and being on a team that like you're friends with also helps.
And Coach Lightel makes it fun for you girls to come back and enjoy it. And, right?
Riley does take things too serious. She's the one that's hard to crack sometimes, but
yeah.
Hey, Coach, you went to Tallmadge. You obviously are quite familiar with the history of it. For you, being an alumni, and then being part of this team as a coach. How do you process all that?
I think my initial thought was I'm so jealous. Because I played 4 years under my assistant Ed, and then we went to the state Final Four in 2009, and so I'm so excited for them, and I feel like I was able to kind of level with them about that experience and kind of tell them what it would be like and about the stadium and like about the crowd, but I do feel like it's kind of, I'm fortunate enough to kind of have lived through that, whether it's been a few years. But I've been where they are, and so I'm able to kind of resonate with them a little bit. I also was a multi-sport athlete like Sid, so I really love that my athletes play multiple sports. I encourage them to do that because I think, like what Sid said, I want them to be excited for basketball season. So I was like something different, and then I was thrilled to come back to softball season. Like I was always ready to come back. So I love that I kind of like can level with a lot of them, that they kind of, I was exactly where they are at this point of their life. And so, yeah, it is lucky that I get to do that. I'm also a teacher at the high school, so I get to see them on a regular basis as well. So they get a little sick of me, I think, but.
So Coach, would you have any advice for coaches of softball? I'm looking for any I could get.
Oh gosh. I think my biggest thing, and then I've talked to a lot of other like coaches about this, is like instruction needs to happen at practice. Instruction doesn't always happen at games. So as soon as we get to a game, it's like, I'm not going to correct anything that they're doing. I'm trying to keep it light. I'm trying to keep it fun. Like there's nothing else that I can teach them in this moment that it's going to determine a win or loss of this game. Cause it just puts, even at the ages of 16, 17, 18, it just puts too much pressure on them. So I can't imagine doing it to a 10-year-old. I also coach a 10U travel team. So I have both ages. So I do like a lot of instruction and kind of like working on different things only at practice, and kind of keeping it more fun and lighthearted during games because they are already in their head enough.
Thank you.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sydney, how hard is it to get a hit off of Riley? Have you been able to do that in practice? Like,
towards like the beginning of the season, we would do a little bit of hitting off of her, and I would just resort back to bunting because that's the only way I can make contact.
I wasn't even pitching at full to you. I wasn't really trying.
Okay. Okay.
I want to pitch.
Fair enough. All right, ladies, thank you guys. Thank you very much for coming on our show and offering advice to Josh. God knows, we all know he needs the help.
He has to be coach of the year next year now. That's got to be the goal.
What you guys did for your community, for Tallmadge, for Northeast Ohio, can never be understated. State champions, that lives with you forever, and you guys. Coach, you're going to have more cracks at it, but Sydney and Riley, you got another crack at it too. And I can't imagine how excited you guys are to be able to defend that title once the time comes around. Thank you so much for talking about your program, talking about yourselves, talking about your teammates. And we'll certainly keep track of you guys over the course of next season. And hopefully we'll be able to bring you back on as defend 2-time state champions.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds like a plan.
We're predicting all of this on June 12th, 2023. So in 5 years from now, we'll reset this up and talk to everybody, talk to you two as seniors and coach as a 2-time champion. How about that?
Sounds good to us.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Very
you.
good.
Thanks for your time.
Thank
we
you.
appreciate it.
We appreciate
it.
Enjoy the summer.
Thank you.
It is the Division II state champion in girls softball is the Tallmadge Blue Devils. From one Blue Devil to another, we were Brunswick Blue Devils. So we're happy to see another Blue Devil team have some success. Head coach Brittany Lightel and junior pitcher Riley Jackson and junior third baseman Sydney Becks. So very lucky and very glad to be able to talk to them on our summer spotlight here on Sports on Tap. And from one set of state champions, and I forgot to tease this one, but we were talking to them before the show a little bit, and we just brought them right on. But we also are going to be joined by the Olmsted Falls Boys Lacrosse Division II state champion team here shortly as well. So we weren't kidding when we said we're talking to state champions all day long tonight. So between the Tallmadge Blue Devils girls softball team, the Olmsted Falls Bulldogs lacrosse team, lots of state champions that we're talking to at the moment. When we are joined by Olmsted Falls, we'll be joined by the Ohio High School Lacrosse Coaches Association Coach of the Year, back-to-back conference Coach of the Year. It'll be head coach Josh Piepenberg, and the Division II Player of the Year, first team all-conference, region, state, all-world, apparently. He holds all the team records and points, goals, assists. He is an All-American. We'll also be talking with the captain, Gavin Moore, as well when they join us here. A couple stats about Olmsted Falls while we're when we're waiting to come on. They're a Division II school. We usually think of them as a Division I, Division II school in most sports. School size brought them down to Division II this year. They did win 20 straight games over member schools of the OHSAA, 3 straight wins over private schools in the playoffs, back-to-back conference championships, a big overtime win against St. John's in the regionals. It's just only their 7th year as a varsity sport. And so that's a lot of, that's a very, very successful program. They talked about, Coach Piepenberg provided us some stats. Current seniors, they lost the middle school state finals back in 8th grade. And they had a vow to get back to the championships, and they certainly cashed in on that vow when they were there. And it looks like we are joined by looks like Gavin Moore is on the line, and Coach Piepenberg also on the line here. Again, Olmsted Falls Division II state champions in boys lacrosse. We're pleasure to meet you guys and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for hosting us. We appreciate it.
Hey, we're lucky to we were lucky enough to talk to the Tallmadge girls softball team. They were Division II state champions in girls softball, and kind of rolling that over into another spring state champion team like yourselves. Coach, you provided us a good amount of information with the storylines. You guys moved down to Division II. It's your 7th year as a varsity sport. 20 straight wins against member schools. 3 straight wins over private schools in the playoffs. Quite honestly, as a public school guy, I'm all about that. No offense to the private schools we cover. But talk about your season, talk about your journey to get here.
And one thing, real quick thing, Ed, sorry to interrupt. Also, you wrote in your email, you were awarded Ohio High School Lacrosse Coach of the Year. So congratulations with that as well.
Thank you. I say to just about everyone, all I really do is call the timeouts. The boys out on the field, they get the job done. I just try to put them in the position to succeed, and they go out there and do it for us. But, it was a great season. 20 straight wins versus OHSAA schools. First game of the year was a loss to WRA, who's a phenomenal program in Northeastern Ohio. They run a great show out there, and they're a heck of a team. So, we really wanted to get our butt kicked right out of the gate, and I think it set us up for pretty good success. It was a good test, and we learned a lot of lessons from that and came out of it prepared to get after it. So that was a good starting point for us that ended up with us as state champions. So we're really proud of that.
Yeah, Coach, talk about with that, we're going to be talking with Gavin Moore here shortly. Talk about some of the other players that were really instrumental in the success of the team this year.
Yeah, absolutely. On the offensive side of the ball, we had Gavin obviously as our leader in points, as well as our emotional leader. Rocco Conti, who's an Air Force football commit, taking the face-offs. He was 82% of 82% of all face-offs he won, and that's a huge stat in lacrosse. You can correct a lot of mistakes by having the ball almost 90% of the time right out of the gate. So that was huge for us. Michael Kandow, another great two-sport athlete, 1,000 points in basketball, as well as almost 100-point season in lacrosse this year. He was a great leader for us. And then you look at the defense as well. Colin Singleton, Preston Staley, and we had a freshman coming up, Logan Lueri, played a phenomenal game, especially in the state finals, And lastly, between the pipes, our goalie, Colton, he played a heck of a game, and every single game he was improving. And it gives you so much confidence when you know that when things go wrong, you got someone between the pipes that's going to make the saves for you. And that just speaks to, how hard these kids work. Every single day they're pushing each other, and we're really proud of the effort that they put in.
Hey, Gavin, 3-year captain, congratulations again on the state championship this year. As a senior captain this year, what are some of the big differences that you in your maybe your captain style from when you were a sophomore to now as a senior?
I think last year we kind of lacked leadership, and towards the end of the year we kind of fell apart as a team, and that's kind of why we lost in the second round of the playoffs. So this year it was just we had one goal in mind, and that was to win a state championship. So as soon as we heard that we were going down to D2, we knew it was our chance to finally do it, because we lost in 7th and 8th grade in the state championship, and ever since going into high school, that was our main goal. So we started off season weightlifting, and then we did open fields in the winter, and those were tough because it was snowing and it was very cold, but everyone wanted to be there because at the end of the day, we all had the same goal of reaching the state championship and winning it.
Hey, Coach, talk about, the actual sport of lacrosse. This is your, I believe you said 7th year as a varsity sport at Olmsted Falls. So, when we were all in high school many moons ago, lacrosse wasn't, as big as it is now. So just talk about the growth of the sport overall in the high school level and specifically at Olmsted Falls.
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually introduced to lacrosse relatively late. I was a hockey player growing up all my life. And, my mom, she pretty much forced me to play the sport because I played goalie in hockey. So she thought that I was gonna get fat just standing there. So she's like, you need to go run around more. And at first, I wasn't really a big fan of it. I much preferred, being on the ice, but it was just so much fun and just sparked something within me that it was just a passion that I couldn't get rid of. But in terms of growth, with the sport in general, I think people just see that it's a beautiful blend of, soccer, basketball, a little bit of hockey, a little bit of football. And it speaks to a wide variety of people that they see the game and they get excited. And, we saw that throughout the year at Olmsted Falls. When people would come to our games, we'd have, parents or friends and family come to the game. They're like, I've never seen a lacrosse game before. And that was so exciting. The game itself is just, it's fast paced. It can be high scoring. It can be low scoring, depending on how the defense is playing. And there's just constant action. And I think that really speaks to how great of a sport it is. And, it's been around for pretty much thousands of years, originated with the Native Americans. And, that really kind of makes it, it adds a layer of specialness to the sport, I think. And that's something that you can really connect with spiritually. And I don't know, there's just nothing else like it. And we love it. And I couldn't be more proud that we were able to bring something back to Olmsted Falls that, with even just 7 years in with the right kids and, the right mindset, you can get the job done. So that's something we're definitely proud of.
Coach, thank you again for taking the time and joining us. You guys won 3 straight wins against private schools. Mm-hmm. And then when you guys dropped down from Division II from Division I, I know it was kind of easy for you guys to get those wins, but just talk about what was the biggest difference from dropping down to D2 due to your guys' size as a school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think the biggest thing was that lacrosse really needs a third division, especially at the high school level in Ohio. The range for Division I is 450 boys in your school, all the way up to 2,000. So when we were Division I, we were at 455. So we were right on the cusp. So we're competing against schools that have, almost at least twice as many boys in their school, and twice as much, a pool to draw from, which can make it tough, and that's not an excuse, but it means that you have to have that much better talent. Going down to Division II, the competition, I don't want to say it was any less competitive. We still had some great games. St. John's was a great game. We still had to do a ton of game plan and preparation. It wasn't like we were handed the win, but I think that it fit our school size much better because it put us on a little bit more of a level playing field. And unfortunately, there are schools at the bottom end of that spectrum, such as Ottawa Hills, who have like 145 boys in their entire school. And for them to make it to the regional semifinals is, a tip of the cap from me, because that's tough to do. And you get what you get, and they did a heck of a job making it that far, and they were pretty much undefeated up until they played us. So, I think that's the big thing that we can draw from that is, I think there really needs to be a third division in lacrosse, but going down, it really, we just had to handle our business, and regardless of what division we were in, we still had to play every game in front of us.
Yeah, and Coach, you had some players, we noticed that played football and probably play some other sports. How do you, in the game of lacrosse, go into Olmsted Falls High School and say, maybe some of these athletes would be good playing the game of lacrosse? I mean, that obviously helps, I think, the sport is, to go in there and get some different guys that are athletic and play. Like Rocco Conti, I mean, we saw what he was breaking records on the football field all over the place, going to Air Force. Mm-hmm. Michael Kandow is another player that had success playing football. How did you go about talking to those kids and saying, hey, lacrosse could be a special game for you that you could have some success in?
Honestly, a lot of these guys just played other sports out of the get-go, but I think the strength of Olmsted Falls and what's really been a blessing to me is our youth program. So Gavin's been playing since he was, I want to say, second, third grade maybe. Same with Rocco, same with Kandow. They all played lacrosse growing up. So it's a lot easier when you have kids that come in and they may play other sports, but they already know how to pass and catch. They already know how to run an offense. And they really they get to the point where when they're playing different sports, they draw from those sports instead of just being a raw athlete and then coming in and playing lacrosse. We have had players that last year we had a player, Diekman. He came in senior on the basketball court. He never played lacrosse before, and he ended up being a phenomenal D-midi for us just because he understood sports in general. And once he got his passing and catching down, he was able to go. But, Olmsted Falls has some incredible athletes. And, I really encourage them to start from a young age. It's a beautiful complement to just about any sport. Like I mentioned, hockey, soccer, lacrosse, football rather, they all mesh together very well.
I'm talking with head coach of the Olmsted Boys Lacrosse Division II state champions, Josh Piepenberg, and also the Division II Player of the Year, All-American Gavin Moore. Gavin, as Coach mentioned, you've been playing at a very young age. What was it about lacrosse that you really loved when you first started and really wanted to continue to pursue that all the way up to high school?
I would say my older brother, he's 3 years older than me, and he started earlier than me, and he would throw me in the backyard, tell me to put on his gear, and he would go run me over and disrespect me, but that's what made me the player I am today. I mean, I really fell in love with it in my backyard, and then going to his games, I mean, it's like Coach said, it's a very fast-paced game, which makes it entertaining, and I like scoring goals, so keeps me happy. And then I also like the defensive side to it because in club I play on the defensive side, so I get to see both sides of the game, and um, I really fell in love with it ever since I was a little kid and knew I wanted to continue at the next level.
Well, you better thank
So,
your brother then, because you're a first team All State, first team All Region, first team All Conference in 2022 2023. All time Olmsted Falls leader in all kinds of different categories. Talk about your, how do you practice this? Obviously, you probably play what, all year round then?
Yeah, I play all year round.
And what's one thing, if there's other kids out there that, want to get in the game of lacrosse and be as successful as you, what do they need to practice to get to your level? Because, I mean, obviously, you put in some time and your success shows on the field.
I mean, one advice I would give to younger players is always be the hardest working on the field. I mean, if you're the hardest working and outworking everyone, effort's always going to beat skill. So, uh, I mean, other than that, I mean, summer lacrosse was a huge helpful thing to my game. I mean, you go against the top players in the nation, so getting that type of experience in the lacrosse field definitely helps me. And playing with different players and seeing how they feel, I mean, how they play, I learn off them, and they make me better. And my teammates are one of the biggest supporters of me because they go out and they make me twice as better as I am because they push me to the best.
all right, Gavin, this is the most important question you are going to get asked today. Who is better, you or your brother?
Wait, is your brother in the same room as you right now?
Oh, he's in the room right next to me.
Is your door locked?
Oh no, he's listening to every word I'm saying.
Well, you don't have to answer that if you're in fear of your safety, because ever since you were a little kid, you've probably been in fear for your physical well-being, having him, put on your the gear and stuff. But you're going next year. You're playing at Detroit Mercy. What led you to that decision to play at the next level, starting in college?
I mean, like I said, I fell in love with it when I was a little kid, and my parents kind of helped me a lot by putting me into a lot of summer stuff. So during the summers, they were putting me across the world to go into summer tournaments, and I really appreciated that. And last summer was very busy for me because it seemed like every weekend they were taking me somewhere else, which I really appreciate. And I mean, when I took my visit at Detroit Mercy, it kind of did feel like home because the coaches welcomed me, and then I stayed overnight there, and all the players were really, really nice. And I felt very welcomed, and that's kind of what led me to committing there.
What are you going to be, do you know what you're going to be studying at the Detroit Mercy?
Yeah, I'm going to be studying architectural engineering.
That is a fantastic field.
Yeah. So it's gonna be busy with that in lacrosse, but we'll be able to get it done.
I mentioned this to last week's athlete, Delana Harvey. She'll be going to school for bowling, and I was lucky enough to play a couple of years in Division III football at Mount Union, and I can tell you that, at least my experience was, I did better academically in season, mostly because all of your time is spoken for. Right, like you get up, you go to class, you study, you eat, you go to class, you go to practice, you lift, you study, you eat dinner, you go to bed. Like there's no room for anything. So I'm hoping that both her and you do a little bit better in the off season than I did.
What were you doing in the off season, Ed? Enlighten us.
Yeah,
lifting.
Ed did make Joe Tate's book, and he thought as a kicker he was the linebacker.
That was like 80 pounds ago. Moving on. Yeah. So that's architecture. So architecture. How did you talk about that decision and talk about that? Like, what is that something you've always been interested in, or is a family member an architect and that's kind of what you know, or what went into that?
My dad owns a construction business, and some summers I would work a few days, and I wasn't really in love with doing that. I'm more of a hands-off kind of person, directing people what to do. And I mean, architects go on the construction site, but they're not really doing the building and stuff. So
it's all about the design. It's all about the design. Right. You let others do the building. I get it.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, they make good money, so that's a big part of it too. So
right.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a perk there, no doubt about that.
That's why he's a 3-time captain. He's been directing his teammates for 3 years.
Hey, so coach, how does that, for you, how does that make you feel as a coach, seeing this young man grow, 3-year captain, and then he's moving on to the next level to play lacrosse and also go to a good school to get a degree. How does that make you feel as a coach?
Absolutely. It makes me proud. And, I've watched Gavin work his butt off, and I actually had the pleasure of coaching his older brother, Johnny, as well. And
well, Coach, do you care to answer that question that I asked before? Who's better?
So Johnny actually lost his senior season to COVID. Spring sports got hit hard by that. So I'm gonna plead the fifth on that one. But I think both Johnny and Gavin know the correct answer themselves. So, but they were both great players, great young men, lead by example, pushed each other to get better. And, that was one of the true travesties of the COVID year was that I never got to see those two play together. And that would have been something that was super exciting. But, it just speaks to the culture of our program is that it's all about hard work. It's all about, nose to the grindstone, working hard on the field as well as off the field. Because at the end of the day, these are, they're student athletes, student coming first. And you have to make sure that your grades are right to play. And lacrosse is an intelligent sport. At the base level, it's very physical and, reactionary. But once you start getting to the higher levels, it's a very intelligent sport with a lot of quick schematics and recognition. And that really speaks to, just general intelligence. And I couldn't be more proud of Gavin for pursuing it at the next level, and I'm super excited to see how he does.
Hey, Coach, in the interest of full transparency, we are not lacrosse experts by any stretch of the imagination.
Not a problem.
So when you're watching the game, and you're watching the ball fly around, and you are watching the hits. You mentioned, there's a high level of intellect that goes into it. Are we talking about from like an X's and O's standpoint? Or just like if I get the ball at this point, I have decision points at A, B, and C, and I have all these options. Or you could maybe talk about a little bit what you guys do if you don't want to give too much away, to kind of illustrate what some of that looks like.
No, absolutely. We run not a complex offense, but it requires quick decision making, and it requires kind of an innate knowledge of where your teammates are going to be. So lacrosse is schematically very similar to basketball. It's 6-on-6 on one half of the field, which is similar to the 5-on-5 of basketball. A lot of picks, a lot of slips, a lot of off-ball movement, cuts. So if I can kind of frame it in that way to help you guys understand that it puts a lot of decision making into the players' hands, and they have to go out there and be not only confident but understand the scheme that they're running. They have to understand that, hey, I may not be able to see my teammate right now because I've got a defender in my way or the goal is in my way, but I have to know that he's going to be cutting through. Or if I do this one thing, he may shift off to the other direction, or just cutting in general. And there's all sorts of other cerebral things. Gavin had a phenomenal timeout in the state championship game that me personally, I probably should have called it. Gavin had the heads up recognition to say, hey, we're not going to get the ball, across the 50 in time. Let's take a timeout here. So, it's those heady plays that really make him and all the captains in general really coaches on the field. And that's kind of how I train them is, I want you guys to be able to not only execute the game plan, but make adjustments to it at the same time. And we really have an open line of communication. What are you guys seeing on the field? What do I need what do I need to scheme up that will help us win this game or score a goal? Just treating them like young adults and making sure that they're using their brains, kind of dissecting what the players are, the opposing players are doing at that moment, and going out there and executing.
Hey, Coach, you provided some information about your assistants. In addition to your captains on the field, who are some of your assistants that have been helping you out a little bit that have helped you guys reach the peak?
Yeah, absolutely. So I played at Baldwin Wallace. I heard you're a Mount Union guy. No fan, or no. You guys whooped our butts. You guys whooped our butts all the time in football, so not a big deal. We're used to that. But so I went to Baldwin Wallace. So did my assistant, Trent McKinstray. He was our defensive coordinator, and the saying goes, offense wins games, defense wins championships, and that's exactly the truth. The defense held pretty much. We only let up 10 goals once, and that was our first game of the season. And our goal was always for offense was score 15. So if you're scoring 15 and not letting up 10, you got a pretty good chance to win the game. He does a great job. A bit high energy guy. Definitely lets the players know when he's not happy with what they're doing, and it allows me to be a little bit more of the level-headed, calm, just overseeing the entire team. But he's just such an asset to our program. We really appreciate what he does for our program, and the defense has just been phenomenal. And, the offensive guys have been getting a lot of credit, but I really do want to shine a light on the defense because they really, really stepped up this year against some very good teams, especially at the end. There were teams that, US was, I think, 20-0 at one point until they played us, scoring 15+ a game. We held them to 5. And even in St. John's, we only won 5-4, but at the same time, the defense held long enough when we really didn't have a lot of possession time on offense, and they held the line and they held it down and gave us the opportunity to win. And then obviously in the state championship against a great offense in St. Francis, they did a heck of a job when we started to falter a little bit. And I think that starts with the leadership, and the players really bought into it. And then our JV coach as well, Mike Harb, he was a former player. He graduated in 21. And he's just the embodiment of Bulldog lacrosse. He knows what hard work means. He actually tore both his ACLs during his high school career, so it was a little bit underwhelming, I guess, would be one of the words to describe it. But he was at practice every day, even with two knee casts on, just helping out the JV coaches, and he really learned what it means to be a coach. And he's just done a great job. Our JV team's 20-2, and that always sets your varsity team up for success when your JV team is having a pretty good year. So can't speak enough about all our coaches. We've had some great coaches in the past too. A couple of my buddies, more friends from BW, Coach Nick, Coach Mike, great guys, love them to death. And it really shows that it's a brotherhood. Those were all the guys that I went to college with, and it shows the players that, hey, lacrosse is more than just a sport. It's something that stays with you for the rest of your life. And I think that's the most important thing that they forged is a bond that's unbreakable. And I'm glad we were able to do it.
Well, I will say one thing. We did have a comment. I don't know if you know a guy named Mason, but he said Joshua knows what he's talking about for sure. So I don't know if you know a guy named Mason, but he's vouching for you there. I mean, giving you a little shout out.
Oh man, it's either my sorry, I'm trying to pull up the comments over here. It's either one of our LSMs or it's my girlfriend's younger brother. So Mason, whichever one you are, shout out to you.
There you go.
Yeah, Gavin. Before we get out of here, as a 3-year captain, you're you're a senior. You won pretty much every award I think you possibly win as a senior. How do you, with all that said, being a captain is a major responsibility in and of itself. How did you interact with the younger players? The freshmen and the sophomores and even the juniors, just to kind of keep them motivated, keep them on the same page. And how did you lead them? With everything else going on.
I mean, I try to come to practice every day, being the most with the energy. I mean, I like being the player that brings the best out of everyone. So if I'm going against someone in practice, I'm going to talk trash to them to get the best out of them. And I mean, offense and defense. And we have a great younger class coming up. And like Josh said, we have a great freshman. He's a defender. And me and him went at it a couple times this year. And he has a bright future ahead of him. And I wish the best for them because they have great things ahead of them.
One thing I want to get to, Gavin, is that I got a couple cousins that also play lacrosse. So, and hopefully they're watching this right now. Just any advice would you give them? Because I'm trying to get them tips on that.
Lacrosse is the best sport in this whole world. I mean, it's fast pace. If you are playing offense, you get to score goals. If you're playing defense, you get to hit people. So, I mean, it has every sport in it. I played football and I played basketball for 2 years, and it has every sport. And if you don't like lacrosse the most, you can still play it to make you a better athlete in those other sports. I mean, it doesn't all have to be about lacrosse. So I encourage everyone to try lacrosse because most people end up liking it. Very few people that I've met in life don't like lacrosse. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, Coach and Gavin, we want to thank you both for coming on our show. Congratulations again on your state championship and the success that your program has had. We certainly look forward to seeing what you guys can do in the future. Gavin, best of luck to you at Detroit Mercy. As well as your teammates and their respects as well. But thank you very much for the time. We appreciate it and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, congratulations, guys. Thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, gentlemen. Go Dogs.
Yeah.
That was the head coach of the Division II state champion Olmsted Falls Bulldogs, the boys lacrosse Division II state champions for 2023, and as well as the D2 Player of the Year. First team all everything, including All-American, 3-time captain Gavin Moore also as well. So lucky enough to join, lucky enough to talk to both them and the state champions of girls softball, the Tallmadge Blue Devils, who won the Division II state championship in girls softball recently as well. So everyone who's watching the show, again, and make sure you're checking us out on all of our social media outlets. You're watching us currently on YouTube. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, get those notifications whenever we're about to go online. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at SOT Podcast. Check us out on Facebook at Sports on Tap. Also, look at our website, sportsontap.podcast.com. That's where you can get all the schedules for our upcoming guests and our upcoming events. Make sure you also, if you have any questions or comments or proverbial smart remarks, make sure you email them to sportsontap@gmail.com. One more time for our sponsors, Ray Felton State Farm Insurance, for Bandwagon Fantasy Sports, RRT Productions, and GV Art and Design. Those are all of our sponsors there. Guys, another great show here in the Summer Spotlight. We're going to take a couple weeks off, and then we're going to get back at it here as we are starting to prep up for our high school football coverage, which will be an every week thing starting in August. So we're going to be, we're trying to get as many, you will be hearing from coaches from some of our various conferences. We're also going to try to get some other folks from other sports while we still have the time to do it. So
absolutely,
lots of good stuff coming up here on Sports on Tap.
And hey, I just want to say, from one champion to another, I wish Sean Duffy could have been here on Championship Monday, but he was unable to make it today. But I want to do this for him. Sean, it was great to be a part Championship Monday from one champion to another.
I would be remiss if we did not mention the SOT FFL champion, Rob Troutman. But the best part of that is that Sean Duffy was not the champion. So it really was fun.
Yeah, exactly.
So it worked out well there.
I actually think your you're looking at the past 3 champions. Am I correct?
Yeah, you're looking at 3 of the past champions for sure. I think Jeff got in there.
Oh yeah, Jeff did get in there too.
So did Pat, I think too. Didn't Pat win one?
Oh, he might have.
Yeah, he did.
Well, the moral of the story is that I took the belt from Sean and he has never gotten it back. And that's been that's probably been the best part of being in this league.
But great job tonight, guys. I thought those were great interviews, and softball is a little bit different than lacrosse, and I think overall, different sports are a lot of fun to watch, and those girls in softball. It shows. Like lacrosse, that sport has come a long way. Like Josh mentioned, when we were in high school, it wasn't too big of a sport, and all of a sudden it's really starting to take off. And girls softball, the skill of those girls you watch in the College World Series, and I recommend everybody to watch that. It is intense, and there's some really impressive skills there. Girls sports is impressive too to watch, and I'll never forget going up against the girls softball team and whiffing. That was I never thought that it would be that tough, but it's a fun sport to watch, and I definitely recommend following them. Next year is going to be an interesting one to see how both those teams do.
Absolutely. All right, and with that, for Rob Troutman, Noah Jacobson, Josh Jeffy, and Sean Duffy out on assignment, you're watching Sports on Tap. My name is Ed Dick, and we will see you on the other side.